Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you here, and of course, thrilled to hear from our panel of what I absolutely consider to be experts. They are resources for all of us as staff, and I'm sure you'll feel the same way as family members after spending some time here with them today. So before I introduce our panel, I wanted to remind everyone one more time that we do have coffee and water and muffins in the back. If you need a restroom, they're just straight out these rear doors of our media center and just beyond in the hallway to the left. Okay. Also, I want to say a very sincere thank you to PTO for planning today's event, specifically to Chris Stair and Mary Lynn Wooters, who really don't want me to say their names, but I just like to personally thank both of you for putting together today's event. Thank you. Also want to introduce our speakers to you. So as I shared with you, they do become such a valuable resource for us. I learn from them every day. And when I have a question, even as a parent, they become such a strong resource for me. And I know that you'll hear from them as they speak the passion that they have for the middle school child, how much they care about each and every individual student. That will shine through in everything that they share with you today. So I'd like to thank Stephanie Schultes, who is our Director of Technology for our school district, for being here. Bobby Wallach, who is our 7th grade school counselor. Courtney Wood, who's our 8th grade school counselor. And Monica Slopnik, our 6th grade school counselor. Monica Slopnik. Monica Strapey, our 6th grade, I'm new here. Our 6th grade, pardon me, Monica. And I'm Kim Cockley, the middle school principal. Today's format is going to be a little different than we've done in the past. We do have 3 main areas of focus that we'll be talking with you about. Technology is a big focus, and that will include social media. Also, we'll be talking about just in general how to survive the middle school social scene, and we'll also discuss how to raise a resilient child. So those will be the 3 primary things that we discuss today. And in our format, our presenters will talk about each topic and then allow some time for you to ask questions and kind of have them more as a panel at that point to be able to answer your questions about each individual topic before we move on to the next. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, who's going to talk with us about technology. Thank you so much again for coming.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for inviting me. It's nice to meet all of you parents and to have the opportunity to talk with you and gain your perspective. As Kim was saying, every time we have a conversation, I always learn such valuable insight. I met with students at the high school last week, and to meet with parents and just the diverse groups here in Hudson, it's really a great opportunity. So at any time, if you have questions, please feel free to interject or let me know. I definitely want to hear what you're experiencing from the parent end and provide you with resources and help as best that I can. So here's me, my contact information, my extension. If you ever need to get a hold of me, I always enjoy talking with parents. Any kinds of questions you have, I'm always very open to hearing them. So please feel free to contact me at any time. I did want to point out the website. There's a wealth of information for parents on the technology page. I'm not sure if you've ever been here before, so I thought I would point out some of the information we have and give you a go-to resource right at your disposal when you're at home. So on the main Hudson webpage, if you select a school here, I'll just go to Hudson Middle School. And the parent piece, there is a technology link. And over on the side, it gives you some information about our one-to-one program, bring your own device, frequently asked questions, and this is a great place to find information. We have some information on GoGuardian, which is our web filter under the one-to-one, and just a lot of great resources. If you're having trouble connecting to Wi-Fi at home, there's some troubleshooting on there. So just knowing about this and having this be kind of a first go-to spot may answer some of your questions that you have at home. I'll select one-to-one here on the side and just illustrate how it has some information on Google Apps for Education, as well as if you scroll down, some of our past parent presentations we've done. As I mentioned, the Chromebook troubleshooting if you're having Wi-Fi connectivity, and then frequently asked questions. So just pointing out that that's there for you. Oh, that would be great. Thanks. We can go back to the All right, so then a hot topic that has come up is GoGuardian. And in addition to what's available on the website, I did want to provide you with a little bit more of a comprehensive overview of what GoGuardian is and how we're using it on the administrative side here at school to keep your students safe. So from our research, we found that GoGuardian is able to provide us with the most advanced filtering, monitoring, and theft recovery software available on the market. And all of those have come in very handy this year. We have used all three of those big features of GoGuardian, and it's been very beneficial. In addition, GoGuardian is FERPA compliant and helps schools meet SIPA and FERPA requirements, which are federal laws. So everything that we're doing is legal, it's safe, and we're ensuring that our students remain safe while using technology here. We are looking currently at GoGuardian Teacher, which is a way for teachers to monitor students' activity and screens within the classroom, and also just help them when they're taking, air testing is secure, it's online, and so we want to be able to replicate that in the classroom and give our students more exposure to taking online tests and that practice. So really, GoGuardian Teacher is something that we're piloting. We're receiving great feedback, and we're going to look at that feature as well in addition to the administrative end of GoGuardian. It's helping students, from what we've heard from teacher feedback, stay on task more and ensure that they're where they need to be and help them focus. So those are all really positive benefits. And in addition to filtering through GoGuardian, we also have a light speed filter. This is provided through NeoNet, which is our internet provider. So really, students are being filtered through Lightspeed and GoGuardian, which should give you some reassurance that they're really safe and protected and they can't get on sites that they shouldn't be on. So these two filters work in conjunction on students' Chromebooks. And at home, they're only filtered through GoGuardian. They don't have the NeoNet Lightspeed filter. That's only here at school on our machines. And really, our teaching staff and administration has remained dedicated to teaching students digital citizenship and responsibility. So when issues come up, they're really working with students to teach them those important characteristics and not just saying, no, you can't do that, but here's why, and let's have those discussions. So our staff has been really dedicated to that. We're intervening with students when inappropriate use of technology is occurring and making sure that safety and educational merit remains at the forefront. I did want to illustrate some of the instructional benefits that we're seeing with Chromebooks and Google Suite. They renamed Google Apps for Education recently, Google Suite. They nickname it the G Suite. So that is the new terminology as Google continues to evolve its products. But I thought these were some interesting statistics here on Chromebooks. There are more than 20 million students worldwide using Chromebooks for the purposes of creating, collaborating, communicating, thinking critically, all those higher level skills that we strive to instill in our students. And it's really hard to do a lot of those things. So Chromebooks are adding those instructional benefits. I read a statistic the other day that 1 in 2 students in the U.S., so half of the students in the U.S., are using Chromebooks. So I really think that those numbers speak volumes. Then in addition, with Google Classroom, there's more than 20 million teachers and students using Google Classroom to help stay organized, collect assignments, save time, and stay in touch with guardians. And exciting update, I just tweeted about this yesterday. With Google Classroom, you no longer have to have a Gmail account to receive parent and guardian summaries. So that is a great improvement with Google. They're constantly making strides. And in fact, our teachers and many of our teachers here, I think there's about 3,000 students within the district that are going to be participating in a Google Classroom pilot. Super excited about this. These teachers are going to be on the forefront of piloting new features and having the opportunity to leave feedback and say, this is working, this isn't. We really need this feature, and students will have that input as well. So I'm excited to be a part of that pilot and get to kind of help Google create new features, and they're really listening to what teachers and students are needing. And then I wanted to touch too on preparing students for the future. So one of our big drives here in Hudson with Chromebooks and using Google Suite is to make sure that our students are prepared for college and career readiness. We want to stay competitive in the workforce and the college force. I was just at OSU yesterday hearing a presentation, and it's really encouraging to see students using Google Suite and Chromebooks, and they're completing their work digitally. So 70 of the top 100 universities are using Gmail and Calendar for students. So we definitely want to make sure our students are exposed to that and have practice so that they can be successful in Life After Hudson schools. And over 20 million teachers and students are using G Suite. So we want to make sure that our students are immersed in this, understand it, and know how to be productive. And finally, these two quotes were shared with teachers during opening day, and throughout the years we've gotten to all the elementaries and had some tech discussions with teachers. And so we really are focused here on tech integration and making sure that what we're doing, we're balancing best practices with being practical. And in addition, we just are focusing on inspiring our students. If we teach them today as we taught yesterday, we're going to rob them of tomorrow. So we really want to make sure we're progressing in the right direction with safety in mind and providing them the resources and tools they need to really strive and be successful. So with that said, are there any questions or things you've been wondering? Yes?
I have a question about when you talk about Google Classroom. I've noticed in the high school or middle school and high school, it's kind of teacher specific on how the teachers use the technology. Like some teachers will put assignments and updates on their teacher website. Some will put it on Google Classroom. Some will put it on Google Calendar. Some will put it on Home Access Center. Like that goes study guides and homework and announcements. Is there kind of a standard? Because it seems hard for the students to remember, oh, this teacher uses this method, this teacher, it's just hard to get it all in one place. Because I know, Google Calendar is, I think, the way it's all supposed to be consolidated, but different teachers use different methods.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So this, oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Great question. And I forgot to share at the beginning that we are filming this morning's presentation because many families are unable to attend during the workday, and we certainly understand that. So this will be posted on our website along with a link to the presentations that you see here. And PTO will also send that out to everyone, which is why we're using this microphone. So when we have questions, I think we'll want to bring the microphone just so we can hear the question. So the question is, are teachers supposed to be consistent with how they're posting assignments? And the answer is yes. It's not a simple answer because, all of this is new to many of our teachers too. So it is a kind of a learning cycle this year, but the expectation is that really district-wide, grades 3 through 12, teachers will be using Google Calendar to post assignments, which means that will come through to their teacher web pages. We spend a lot of time training teachers on how to embed the Google Calendar right onto their website. So they don't have to enter it in two places. They're entering it in Google Calendar, and it automatically updates right on the website for you. And so all of our teachers are at that point of using Google Calendar. Some who use Google Classroom, it's a little bit of extra time spent with our technology coordinators on how to allow families to see that as well. The students are well versed in what's on their Google Classroom, but as parents, even I'm trying to figure out how to view a Google Classroom. Not necessarily that my children are on it yet; they're kindergarten and first grade, but I don't know how to view a student's Google Classroom. So it's more about having the student open up their Google Classroom and then showing me what's on there at this point. So we're working on some of those components, but I just want you to know that's certainly where we're headed, just to give families that one-stop shop and to allow kind of ease of entry for teachers into one place. Does that help answer the question? So we're kind of in this transition year since we've all moved to this platform this year. Okay, great question. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Stephanie.
Anything else? Yes.
It's not so much a safety issue, but what?
If you have, besides Wi-Fi connectivity issues, other IT issues, where do we go? Who do we ask? Sometimes the laptop is a little quirky and they'll start doing strange things and we can't figure out how to fix it.
All right, multiple microphones here. Yeah, and that's a great question. Here at the Media Center at school is where students receive support, and really the best way to troubleshoot a Chromebook is to restart it, typically by rebooting it. And it starts up in less than 7 seconds. That will solve any kind of issue that you're having. And that's really all I would recommend parents do at home. If there's anything beyond that that's occurring, have the student bring it to school here and we'll troubleshoot further. We give out loaner Chromebooks so that if a student's Chromebook does need to be repaired, they can still complete their work and have that until their Chromebook is fixed. So at home, I would say don't try to troubleshoot too much. By restarting, if that doesn't do the trick, definitely bring it here to school and we'll get it squared away. Thank you very much. Does that help or?
All right, so my question is for the kids, and I'm sure mine who are just curious about everything, and their whole goal in life is to get around whatever block you put in. So I know that the school has blocked all kinds of websites. How are you guys dealing with the whole unblock programs that you can get? Google has one that they advertise for games. Unblock your games at school. And so I just was curious about how you guys are dealing with that, and any suggestions about the curious kids that want to just unblock everything.
That's a loaded question. Okay, many different angles to take on that. The first is that yes, we did find that things needed to be blocked so that students didn't have wide open access. And what we were finding was actually becoming a Chromebook operating issue. So when students have too many apps and extensions installed, it was slowing down their Chromebooks to the point where they couldn't function. And then some of the apps and extensions compete with each other. So that was causing some interference and some issues as well. So to illustrate it perfectly, if we leave wide open access and students are using all these different apps in different classes to take notes, it does become really confusing. Which app should we be using? Which is going to help us be more productive? So by streamlining it, we have certain apps and extensions available for students so that they only have one way to take notes, and we'll just kind of build and provide that continuity. With that said then too, we'll eliminate those interference with the apps and extensions that aren't working properly with each other. So that's definitely one tenet of it. Teachers have a way of requesting certain apps or extensions or websites to be unblocked. We review all of those requests, the media specialist primarily, and typically anything a teacher needs for instruction is going to be unblocked for the students at that point. And then, let me think where else I need to go with this.
Unblock game, like
Yes.
Google's unblock game, that's what the one I'm curious
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, and so the problem is that a lot of the unblocked game sites are being built within Google Sites, which is a Google app. It's a wonderful app. We don't want to block Google Sites. We want kids to be able to create Google Sites. We're looking and talking, having discussions about e-portfolios for students. So we want to keep that instructional value alive and not block and restrict. We want to teach them instead that appropriate digital citizenship. So with that said though, some of the hacks and the unblocked games are being built within Google Sites. So we can block individual websites, but as you can imagine, it's impossible to keep up. For every one that we block, there's 5 more that are released. So we really, truly cannot block everything. That's why we're really focusing on that digital citizenship piece. And yes, we have the things that are really inappropriate and need to be blocked. But then from there, we're really just trying to focus on that model. And we're taking parents and administrative and teacher requests very seriously. If they're coming across something, we really encourage you to contact us. You're right in direct line with your students. So if you see something, please do not hesitate to contact us and say, hey, can we get this blocked, if they found a way around it. So really just by keeping those lines of communication open with everyone, hopefully we can steer the kids in the right direction. But it will remain impossible to block everything. Are there any other questions? Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure meeting with all of you.
Okay. So technology is definitely something that is new for all of you. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So this has been a kind of a learning curve this year, I'm sure, for a lot of you. Like, you know, your Chromebooks are getting wacky at home, I'm hearing, and your students are getting onto websites that maybe you don't want them to. They're finding ways. So it's a different world that we're living in right now for our middle school students. And so that's kind of the direction that I wanted to go in talking with you. So I did a survey with the students. We quizzed them on, it was a sampling, so there was about 200 students that we sampled with multiple questions. And one thing I'd like to do is kind of get your feedback on your experience. So what I'd like to ask you to do is to think about this first question. What challenges did you face as a middle school student? So think about that. When you were in middle school a while ago, what kind of things did you face? Now, talk to a person near you about this. So pair. So your thought, now pair, and then we'll share. Okay? So take a minute. What kind of things did you face?
We had lockers. Didn't get lots of lockers in high school. Well, just to write, because I could call certain friends like where
All right, coming back in 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you. Thank you for pairing and sharing. So now, are there any of you that would be willing to share some of the things that you faced as a middle schooler with the rest of the group? Any of you? Yes?
Mom wouldn't buy us Guess jeans.
Mom wouldn't buy the Guess jeans. Oh, yes. It's tragic. Yes.
Everyone's developing at different times and rates. It's just super awkward.
Everyone is developing at different times. Super awkward. If I showed you a picture of myself, talk about awkward. That was not a good time for me. I was extremely skinny, braces, hair. Oh, bad. I should have brought one. Next year. Next year we'll. I may have destroyed them all, but we'll see. Anyway, good point. So,
I just wanted to share, there was one thing that was on YouTube, I think, a while ago, and there was a guy that used to do the news report at high school, and he did an overview of what his schooling in Hudson, and basically the middle school was a giant thundercloud of emotions and stuff like that, and hormones. Really, we were just saying, just get through it so that I can go to high school, you know. So it's switching friends. You know what you did in elementary school is all of a sudden, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. You know, so I mean, the kids are like playing musical chairs at lunch, or what I liked in elementary school. No, I don't want to do that anymore. So, and I feel like I did the same thing. You know, at 13, you're like, yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear that, a thundercloud of emotions. Definite changes between what you maybe were interested in middle or elementary school to middle school. Yeah, lots going on, a lot of things going on with the hormones and whatnot. Anything else? Okay, so one more time with Think, Pair, Share. Who did you go to for help with these challenges? When you were challenged in middle school, who did you go to for help? Maybe share with person next. A coach. Who else did you go to? Mom, dad, sister. Older or younger? I'm guessing older. Older sister. Yeah. Okay. So these were some of the questions I asked your students. And the sampling was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So the very first question I asked was, what challenges have you faced in middle school? And, some of them were very similar. I didn't hear about guest jeans. But they did struggle with, a few of the things that you mentioned. But what was interesting to me was, that was a very open-ended question. And I expected to see things about technology and those kind of pieces. And that was minute. The things that they are so challenged by or focusing on is academics. So I heard, when I look back and think about middle school, it was all that social piece. Having, my hair look the right way and my clothes be the right way and my friends and getting into sports and I don't know, but their focus was so academic. It did surprise me. The things they were challenged with was tests. And a common answer was time management. So time management, maybe it was fitting everything in between studying and doing homework and all their after-school activities. And so we hear that pretty common piece in our office is, how do I get all of this stuff done? And done well. They do care about their grades. And they care about being on time. That was so cute. There was a lot of being on time to school, being on time to class. So those were some things that they were really focused on. It was interesting to not hear a lot of the friendship pieces that we do see in the office, obviously, as guidance counselors, but school counselors. But, that was an interesting piece. It wasn't all the kind of fluff stuff that we think about. They are pretty serious about their academics. Who did you go to for help with challenges? Number one answer on the board? Mom. Number one answer was mom. Parents, common answer, so dads, you're in there. It's funny you said sister, because I was going through the results, and sister was so common. I'm like, there's not a brother in here. I had one late turn in, and there was brother. And I was like, all right, the brothers are there. And he's an amazing kid, so no surprise there. But so some of the people they go to, also, they're teachers. So the top two answers were parents and teachers. I thought friends would be much more frequent as an answer. They were on there, but it was interesting that, your influence is still so huge. And that's what I want you to take away from that. We definitely hear that, when children get into middle school, their peers have such a strong influence on them. And that is true, but still their number one influence is all of you. Okay? They put counselors down, they put coaches, they put their friends too. So, but definitely the top answers were parents. What is something you wish your parent knew about middle school today? So that answer was interesting because kids took that in different directions, but the most common answer was that middle school is not like it was when you were there. They wanted you to know that. So we heard that a lot. They did talk about the fact that there are more tests now and more homework now than you had experienced in middle school. And I'm guessing you know that because as a parent, my kids are older now, so I have a 9th grader and I have a freshman in college and a sophomore in college. But I definitely saw that in middle school where it seemed like a lot more than what I did. And I definitely know the rigor is much higher than what I did. I look at what my 6th graders are doing right now, like in science class, and I think, didn't I do that in high school? And right? And there was a point in time when mathematically my kids passed me. I was just like, I'm not sure. I don't know what matrices are. So we moved on. But they definitely are, the rigor is much higher. So that's something that was different. They wanted you to know that they're trying their hardest. And I thought that was very sweet. And, but that things can be stressful. They kind of went back to that time management piece, that school and all of their activities can be stressful. So sometimes, I should go back actually and tell you that they were allowed to fill out the survey anonymously. I told them that only put your name down if you want me to give you feedback on it, because they are much more truthful when they are being anonymous. They don't feel like I'm going to go back to them. So there were some pieces, it was actually kind of cute, that the way kids filled out some of the answers, thinking I might find out who they were, so I can get to that in a little bit. But so it was nice to hear just like have that truthful response that, yeah, sometimes things are challenging, these are the things that I'm facing that maybe are a little different than my parents, I'm sure we all felt that. We had times where we were studying for tests and it was challenging and it was hard, and maybe they don't come home and tell you that all the time, but they are feeling that. So probably the most important question, how would you like your parent to help you with middle school challenges? So what we heard more times than not was support us. So, let me back up actually. So support me willingly. And that one kind of I had to think about myself wow, do my kids always know that I am willing to support them? If I'm scrolling through Facebook and they're doing homework, I maybe need to check myself and check in with them first. Do you need my help? What they wanted help with more than anything was studying for tests. So sometimes I think our kids, they want to be seen as so independent, so they may not come to you and say, will you help me study with this test, for this test? But they do want it. That was on probably 90% of the surveys. Help me study with my tests. So I just think that, they're not coming home. I don't think 90% are coming home telling you that, but it's in their heads. So I just did this last night. I helped my daughter study for pathophysiology in college. Holy smokes. But, it was something, I was tired as can be, but we were sitting at the table and I'm going through note cards with her and definitely know that education was the right direction for me instead of nursing because I couldn't pronounce anything. But it was also nice bonding because I just kind of, try to help de-stress her a little bit too because things are ratcheted up in college, obviously. They definitely also said another way that a parent can help is to help them create a plan for time management. So going back to, again, the activities, the studying, the homework, and how to get that all done efficiently. One other thing I think was really critical that some kids put down, let me relax when I get home. Now, that doesn't work for every family because I had other kids that say, remind me to do my homework when I get home. So in my house, my kids come home, they would walk right in and do their homework. And they liked knowing that when that was done, the rest of the night was free. That worked for my kids. What works for other kids is they need to come home and have a break. It might be 45 minutes, it might be an hour. They just need to just relax and do something that they enjoy before they get into it. It might be playing outside, work off some of that energy. So asking your kid that, what would be the best thing? Because in my head, it was always come home, it's fresh in your mind, get that counter and do your work. But, it might not be. So kind of always talking with your kid about what is the best option. So that was a big one. Listen to me and encourage me were some of the other ones. Okay. So that open line of communication is so huge. Taking time to have dinner together and talking with each other. This will help your child navigate through middle school. Okay. One of the things that can help that is I went to this website and it was about 25 ways to ask your kids, so how was school today, without saying, how was school today? So it was really cute. I put up some of the examples that they had. So, tell me something that made you laugh today. If an alien spaceship came to your class and beamed up someone, who would you want them to take? Or that could be telling. So, how did you help someone today? So you can kind of look through them and see, what direction you want to go with your child. And then there's another one that's a 28 ways to ask your teen, because obviously we're getting into the teenagers too. And there's also, they have an app, I think it's 99 cents, that will give you a question every day. So you can ask in a different way because how many of you here, how was school today? What's the response? Fine, good. That's it, right? So these help with these open-ended questions. And I did this with my daughter, just so you know, just to kind of, because I was like, I need to do that because I tend to say, how was school? She says good. And then I go into, okay, what did you do in science class today? What did you do in social studies today? I have to kind of pull it out of her. So she looked at me, I did the alien question last night. She was like, well, that's just weird. And I was like, I know, tell me. So it could be telling, why. And we've talked about how that could be did the student see that as an adventure? Or did they see that as, get this kid beamed up and away from me? So there was a lot of other ones, things like, if today had a theme song, what would it be? Or if today was a movie, what would it be? What movie title would it be? So things like that, it just kind of, and why. So it just gets you talking, gets you hearing about what their day is like, You can ask them, what was something good that happened today? What was something that you wish had gone better? How did you help someone today? So those kind of things can open that conversation, but it really is going to give you an insight into their day and what they could get help with. So one of the key ones I thought, which was, appropriate for this day and age, is if your day at school was an emoji, what would it be? So I thought I'm going to try that one tonight. Another thing you can do, and I already mentioned that the students said encouragement was something that they would like to hear. You can log on and put in 101 ways to praise your child. There's just a few up here on the screen. I got 411,000 results when I did that. So, sometimes we just say, oh, good job, honey, good job, honey, good job, honey. And there's so many more ways to say that. And, if you're really praising that hard work ethic, like, you should be proud of yourself, like getting them to recognize that. So we'll go into kind of what we are looking for in our students and, what we want for them in the future. We'll get into that later. But so the big theme, too, is just, they still need you. They still want you, whether they're telling you that or not, while all of those emotions and those crazy cloud of emotions are going on in their head. They still want your support, number one. Okay. So we also included in the survey about social media. And so this is the segue into what Courtney's going to talk about, some of those responses and some of the things that we see going on in the world of social media. Okay? All right.
Okay, I want to introduce myself one more time. So I'm Courtney Wood. I'm the current 8th grade counselor, but I will also have the incoming 6th grade students next year. So I know we have some 5th grade parents here, so I just wanted to let you know that. So part of the survey, we asked a couple questions about social media. And one of them was, what do you want your parents to know about social media? And I think you guys will be surprised, because I feel like sometimes when you think of social media, we kind of think, bad, teenagers, like drama. But what they wanted you guys to know is it's not all bad. It can be helpful, and it's fine if they use it appropriately. So I would say the majority of our students at school are on social media, exposed to social media, using social media. And out of the students that come down to our office, there are some situations involving social media. But for the majority of them, for the most part, they are coming down to us, stressed out about school or academics or wanting help with, study skills. A lot of the times we're not hearing a lot of stuff about social media anymore. And what I think, why I think that is because social media is a part of their world. And even when I was growing up in middle school, we didn't have cell phones. We still had to call, the home's landline, and you're trying to kind of hide, from your siblings so they didn't overhear the conversation. Whereas this generation has grown up with it. I have a 1.5-year-old who knows how to swipe on the iPad. I mean, it's just ingrained, in them at such a young age. And there's some positives to that because they grow up learning to use it responsibly. And I think we start teaching them at a young age in the home and at school how to use it responsibly. And what I want you guys to know is they're looking at you too and how you are using social media. So we talk a lot about, kind of being that role model for them. And, Monica was talking about, when the kids are doing homework, you're on Facebook, and sometimes I have to take a step back too at home. Like, that's kind of my downtime, is kind of to check Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And but you want to make sure you're still engaged with your kids. And when you are posting things, making sure that you're using it responsibly and kind of just so they can see you. So that's a big theme. But we also asked, what social media sites are they on? Because it is changing, and I'll be honest, I just downloaded Musical.ly yesterday or the day before because I am not the target audience for that. So what they did say, though, is they are using Snapchat. So Snapchat is definitely by far the biggest one they are using. Instagram is another one. Pinterest, which kind of surprised me a little bit, but a lot of kids did put down Pinterest. YouTube, which I think YouTube has been around for a while, and then Musical.ly. was the other one. So those are the ones the majority of students are using. A couple of them did put down Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Uvu, Vine. But really, even what we hear in our office, Snapchat and Instagram, I would definitely say are like the two biggest ones. So we're going to go into some of those a little bit. But why are our students using social media? Like, why is it so prevalent with this age group? And it's a little blurry, but if you've ever heard of FOMO, it's the fear of missing out. So they're all using it. And they want to be, in middle school, they want to fit in. They want to be part of the crowd. They want to be doing what everybody else is doing. So when they hear somebody or see somebody on Musical.ly, what are they going to do? They're going to go to the App Store and they're going to download it to their own phone. And, that's normal behavior. So then when they get all these apps, then what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to set up a profile. Hopefully they're going to go into their settings and set it to private. And then they're going to start following people and trying to get followers. And that's where, we have to kind of be mindful of, where these kids are getting their feelings of self-worth. Because what happens is, on Instagram, you post a picture. And then what are you looking for? The likes. You're looking to see how many likes you're getting. And there is a correlation, we were talking about this the other day, between the number of followers you have and the number of likes you're going to get. And, the conversation we constantly have with students, and hopefully you're having with your kids, is I would not accept a follower request from someone I have no idea who they are. So if you don't know them in real life, then why are you letting them follow your social media account where you're posting, personal information and pictures? And why they are accepting those requests is because they want to have more followers, because they want to get more likes. So it's kind of the circle, that keeps going around. But that's always the advice that we give to the students. If you don't know them in real life, don't accept their follower requests. It could be a 50-year-old man living in his parents' basement in Wyoming. I mean, we have no idea who these people are. And I think that's the scary part that we hear when we're listening to the news. So that's what we always, tell the students. But with that being said, if they have fewer followers, they're getting fewer likes. And I went to a conference this year, and I went to a session on social media. And the presenter was saying a lot of times, and girls more than boys, if they put up a picture and they didn't get so many likes within a certain amount of time, they were taking that picture down because they just thought then it wasn't worthwhile to even have up. So we just want to make sure that their self-worth is connected to more than the likes they're getting on social media. So how can you do that? You can have conversations with them, about, okay, well, your friend got 100 likes and you have 50, but let's look, your friend has 500 followers who they don't know, and you have 100 because you know them, and kind of talking through that with them. And then also just making sure they're in activities where they can get that sense of self-worth. So in sports, in music, in clubs, and, really kind of use those, the 100 ways to praise your child, or, start telling, sharing that with them at home. So kind of build them up. And another thing on here that it's hard to read, but I do like, is there's advice to create a technology-free zone at home. So whether that's a zone, whether that's a time frame, I know, if you're lucky enough to have family dinners where you guys aren't all running around in 100 different directions, make that a technology-free zone. So parents too, like I said, we're trying to model that behavior with them. Or if, they go to bed at 10 o'clock from, 9 to 10, the technology-free time where you can kind of catch up with them, do something together, just talk, read a book, but really do try to kind of set up some limits, because otherwise they're so connected to their devices and their phones. If you give them kind of free reign, they're going to be on their phones 24/7. Even nighttime. I do talk to a lot of students who come in, they're so tired in the morning. I'm like, why are you so tired? I was up until 2 a.m. What were you doing up until 2 a.m.? Oh, I was, on social media. I was texting with a friend. I was on my, Instagram. I'm like, well, who else is up at 2 a.m. that you're doing this with? So another just kind of piece of advice is when everyone goes to bed, have a common place. Maybe it's in your bedroom, maybe it's in the kitchen, where everybody puts their devices before they go to bed. So they're not taking it into their bedroom and you think they're sleeping, but they're not, okay? Because you can get sucked so fast into social media. And I said I just got into Musical.ly. I also just joined Snapchat, okay? Because I wanted to see how it worked. And we were playing with Snapchat this week, and I will share that. For those of you not on Snapchat, there's a bunch of different filters. So as soon as you log into your Snapchat or bring it up, then you can reverse the picture. So you're looking at yourself, and you can pick all these different filters. So you can look like Albert Einstein. It makes you look like a cat. I mean, there's like this beautiful like princess one that erases all your wrinkles. It makes you look like you're glowing. I mean, it was so fun. And we were taking pictures and we were trying them. And, Mrs. Mazer, our secretary, came in and she's like, what's so funny? What are you guys doing in here? And then we were having her do it. So I can see how the kids, they get on it and they're just going to check something really fast. And an hour later, they haven't started their homework, but they've taken 100 pictures on Snapchat of all these different filters. So I can kind of see, how it can be a time sucker. So just kind of, if you can, kind of try to set limits for yourself and your kids, I think that would be good. Okay, so we're just going to go through some of the ones, like I said, the kids said that they're really using. There's a million apps out there, but these are the important ones. So Instagram. So you join Instagram and basically you create your account. You can make Instagram private. So if you make your account private, what happens is they can see your profile picture. Anybody can see your profile picture and whatever you put in your bio. So you don't have to put much in your bio, but that is available for everyone to see. And then if it's private, what happens is people have to request to follow you and you have to accept those requests. And then as you post pictures, then that picture goes out to your followers and then they can like it. Okay. So like we said, a good rule of thumb is just to know the person that is following you. And then you can like it. So Instagram, I would say, is pretty popular with the kids, but not as popular as Snapchat. So Snapchat, you could take a picture or a video, and then you set the time it's available to your followers. So let's say, we took a picture in one of our funny filters, and we said it's going to be available for 5 seconds. Then we can post it, it goes out to our followers, and then after 5 seconds, it's gone. But is it really gone? No. Because what do? Your followers can take a screenshot. Okay, and now somebody has it, and then that follower who took the screenshot can share it with their 100 friends. So that's the other part, when we're talking to kids about using social media responsibly, is just knowing that anything you ever put out there on social media is there to stay somewhere. We might not see it for a while, but it is somewhere or somebody has it. So we really try to talk that through with them. So, we tell them, when you're applying to a college, when you're applying to jobs, you don't want these, if you have a picture out there, think about that. Like, do you want this floating out there for another 30 years? Now, there is something called a Snapchat story. So those are available for 24 hours. So those, you can post something to your story, and then you can add to that. So that's available a little bit longer. And then a streak, that's kind of a newer thing, but some people have streaks that have lasted, like a year or longer. So to have a streak with somebody, you have to be snapping with each other on a daily basis. So if you miss a day, then your streak is over. And this is really important to kids at this age. And we might think it's silly and what's the big deal, and if you miss a day and you start over. But, kids at this age, they're really into it. And I know one of the counselors was sharing a story of one of their kids' friends who had a streak going with somebody, and their family was going camping. So they were not going to have access to their phone or Snapchat. And this this child was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? So he was going to give his friend his login information so his friend could continue this streak. And what he ended up doing is giving it to a brother who was staying back. But I mean, this is important in their lives. So sometimes we have to think of like a 12-year-old instead of like an adult thinking this is silly who has time for this. But I mean, it is important to them. Okay, so Musically is kind of fun. I mean, if you have some free time and want to download a free app. So it's a music video making app. They're just little short videos, and what they do is, they pick a song, maybe a popular song, and they somebody videotapes them, and they're lip syncing and dancing, and then they post it. It sounds silly, but it's pretty entertaining. It's kind of like a YouTube spinoff, and they can post it to other sites. So once they make it in Musically, then they can share it, to their Facebook page or Instagram. And they can change their account to private. The target audience, I guess, this is not me, but I would say the majority of people on Musically are probably teenagers, so middle school, high school. Celebrities are using it, and that's another one you can get lost in for a long time. So, like once you start, looking through the videos, then suggested ones come up, and then you can keep watching them. And then YouTube. So like I said, YouTube's been around for a while. Kids still, and adults still like YouTube. And it's amazing the number of people who have actually become famous just from having like a YouTube channel, or they teach people how to do makeup on YouTube, and then people, follow them on YouTube. So, according to a survey, the top 5 most influential celebrities are YouTube stars. So, they get these major followings. I know some people have been like found on YouTube and gone on to become successful musicians. But anyone can access or post videos. And, typically YouTube is pretty innocent. A lot of kids like to watch the animal videos and they think they're funny. But it's the comments. I don't know if you've ever been on YouTube and you read through the comments. Those can get negative pretty fast. So that would kind of be the thing to watch for on YouTube. Oh, yes.
If this is appropriate, I will add, just exposing myself a bit, but I was very disappointed, and my whole family was very just shocked at some information that I did a search history on what someone had been looking at on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to enlighten you all, it is not all innocent. The comments, it's more videos,
Mm-hmm.
terrible videos
Mm-hmm.
that no adult should see. So just be wise, because these things that children see can really just stay with them forever. The images that they see, and it just broke our hearts.
Right. And once they see it, they can't unsee it. I mean,
We're doing a lot of prayer, and
Yeah.
I'm sure but it's just something that shocked us, and so I wanted to just encourage you all to be mindful and figure out a way to limit the searches and all those things, because they can easily change IDs and
Right.
accounts and these kinds of things. So it's something that you really have to be on top of.
No, thank you. And a new thing I didn't put on here, but it's becoming a part of a lot of the apps, is live streaming. So, Facebook has a live streaming part. A lot of these apps do now. And, the potential dangers of live streaming is, if you're a student and you think nothing of it, and, you're walking from, school to your house, let's just say, and, because you live stream and it's just kind of mundane things, it's nothing really too exciting. So all of a sudden, whoever's following you knows where you go to school and your path to your house and what time that you do that. So it's just, sometimes I think kids are unaware of, the clues by, posting a picture or even live streaming that they're giving to other people that are following them. So I think that's something to be aware of as far as live streaming. Another thing is that, when they're live streaming, then people can be making comments and even kind of making requests. I've heard of, not in this building, but, playing truth or dare through live streaming. So all of a sudden, like you're trying to gain popularity, you're trying to get more followers, you know, and you think it's fun, and people are requesting that you're doing stuff in live time. So they're not like taking a second to think about this. Is this a good choice? Is this a smart decision? But they're just kind of responding, you know, to these comments being made. So just something to be aware of. I don't know how popular it is right now, but I think social media is kind of moving that way, where you're just going to be able to see everything in real time. There's going to be no like delay. You know, it's just going to be what's happening right there and right then. Okay, so simple ways to navigate the middle school social scene, okay? So our goal is to empower students. Middle school is a time where, you know, they're gonna make mistakes, and we want them to learn from them, and we want them to kind of find that confidence that they know they're gonna make mistakes, but everything's gonna be okay, and to give them some of those tools and skills where they can problem solve and, you know, kind of find their own solutions to things. So I'm not going to read them all to you, but a lot of these things are things that we share with students when they come down to the guidance office. And a couple that I just want to point out, you know, the first two kind of corresponds with technology and social media. What I always tell students, you know, when we're talking about a picture that was posted, is would you show this to your grandma and Dr. Copley? Okay. So if the answer is yes, then, you know, it's probably fine to post. If the answer is like, I don't know about my grandma, or I don't know, you know, then I wouldn't post it. So that's the advice that we give to them. Another thing is, you know, just walk away from gossip. I know, you know, we hear middle school drama, we hear that a lot. I think if you want to be part of drama, you will find drama, and if you would rather not be part of drama, then there are ways to stay out of it. Okay, so walk away from gossip. Anything you say will either add to the drama or reduce it. And then, you know, the last one, you teach others how they can treat you. I think we all know the golden rule of treat others how you want to be treated. I think our kids hear that from a young age, which is awesome. But I think they're getting to the age at middle school where we want them to also learn to be assertive. So, you know, not to be aggressive, not to be passive, but to stand up for themselves, to stand up for what they think is right, and that it's okay for them to share their feelings and their thoughts in a respectful way. So really just kind of teaching them how to do that. Sometimes we'll role play with them in the office. You know, if they're having a friend issue or a problem, you know, and they're a little nervous about addressing it with that certain person, we'll say, okay, well, pretend that I'm her and we're at the lunch table. How are you going to bring it up? Because, you know, through social media and texting, we still have to remember that they're going to have to communicate verbally with people too. So we do want to also make sure they have those skills. Okay? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Wallace.
We have a question back here.
Sure.
I have a fifth grader, so he doesn't have a phone yet, but I was wondering in middle school, what percentage of the kids do you think actually have their own phones?
I don't have a percentage. However, I would say the majority, would you say?
I think about 50% fifth grade would be my guess, and then
It kind of, right. Like my eighth graders, I would say the majority of eighth graders have that. And parents do ask that, like at what age is it appropriate? And I think it just depends on, you know, really the child and kind of what your thoughts on it. So, you know, if they're responsible, if you think they're, you know, going to use it responsibly, if, you know, you don't think their academics will suffer too much, you know, then. Yes.
So the question was, are they allowed to bring them to school? And we do have board policy in place for grades 6 through 12 that students are allowed to actually have them out at school in the hallways and at lunches, so kind of that downtime. But in the classrooms, it's at teacher discretion. So we just wanted to let you know that. And I think the takeaway from your question is not everyone has a phone. So when they come home and say that, it's not true. I mean, that's their perception. But if your child's not yet ready, know that they're not going to be ostracized because they certainly are not the only student without a phone.
Right.
Okay.
Similarly, you mentioned in a lot of these apps that you can make your following private. What's your sense, though, of do kids really want to do that? Because I may think as a parent that that's a great idea and a happy compromise,
Mhm.
but if they're wanting to fit in,
Mhm.
um,
Do you want to? Yeah.
My name's Bobby Wallach, and I'm 7th grade this year. But I also could be sitting on the other side of the table here with you because I have an 8th grade daughter and a 6th grade son. So I'm living this as a parent as well. My children do not have a choice. All their accounts must be private. They know any account they're on, I'm on. I'm their little stalker. I'm following them at all times. And this has been a discussion we've had for years. And I'm going to mention to you later in the presentation that if you have something a big topic you want to talk about with your children, don't think to yourself, all right, I'm going to have this talk. Okay, I'm done. Phew. It's hundreds of little discussions through the years. And my students knew, my own children knew when they started on social media that they have to be private always. Mom's going to be following you. That's the way it is. And if you don't know the person in real life, do not let them follow you. It could be a stranger. It could be a dangerous situation. I don't want to scare my kids away from technology, but I want them to have a healthy fear of interacting with people that they don't know, because that's real.
To tie into that, we
Okay.
so when we
I'll put it on.
My 6th grader pretty much wrote us and drove us to the ground to get his phone. We had kind of gone along, the research shows 14, they're not supposed to really have a phone until 14, and it was this group identity versus alienation kind of thing. It was back of my head. As a social worker, I was just like, it was just the peer identity, and so we just folded, he got one, but we had a contract made up that encompasses every single thing talked about today, about checking the phone in at night before he goes to bed, all these things of following him. It's a privilege to have this phone. It is not his property. It's really ours. And
Absolutely.
he signed this contract, and it's very telling. Like, he just constantly goes back to it. He knows because it's in writing. He read it. We at any time can take that phone. It's like a 2.5-page contract. It's pretty detailed. But our cousins in Denver put it together, and then we tweaked it a little bit for our family, and it has been golden. And he kind of knows, like, this is real. And at any time he could lose it, because if he shows us that he's not, So it's and if he ever gives us any reason to have to check all those things, but for the most part, we're going on trust. But it has been helpful. So it's an idea.
I love that.
I have 3 daughters, and it's always been the mantra, like, I own the phone, I pay the monthly, I will take it, not a question. Like, if I want to look at it, I will take it. And either my husband or I follow them on everything, and that was the deal to get started. So when, we were being hounded at home about getting on, it was, I have to be friends with you. A couple things to caution. One of my daughter's friends, my daughter was friends with her, and she friended me on Facebook. And then I saw she was friends with this person. I said, "Who is this?" Because I every so often go through and look at the friend list to see who are these new people. I said, "Who is that?" And she said, "Oh, it's so and so." And I'm like, "Well, I'm friends with her, but it looks like this." The friend had made a second Facebook account. So I mean, that's something to watch for too. I mean, because you never know. And I'm like, well, why? Like, we're getting into that. And it was to do with gaming and connecting with people from elsewhere that they didn't want their parents to see. So just kind of being, it is a constant, little bit here, a little bit here. It's not a one and done deal. You have to be monitoring along as you go.
At Eastwoods last week, we had a visit from the juvenile sheriff's office of Summit County, and one of the things they told us to check was ghost apps, it's called. You can actually,
what is it?
Ghost app, or there's another name for it, do you recall? Like blind apps or something.
Oh, calculator.
So you download an
Where they
app,
hide
and
the
it'll
apps.
look like something else. It's usually like a calculator, and then when you click on it, there's actually another app hidden inside, and you have to put in a password to access the other app. So if you didn't want your child to have Snapchat to say, if you just look at their phone, they may have it anyway. So you literally have to click on every app on their phone to see if there's another app hidden in it. So
I'm
if you
so
really
glad you
think
mentioned that. And one thing
Vault,
I
it was Ghost apps or Vault apps. They said look in the App Store for.
thank you so much. In my family, we just have one iTunes account. So when my children download anything at all, it has to go through me. So, but I think it's really important to be aware of those ghost apps for sure. So.
This is a hot topic.
Yes, it is.
I just want to share one other idea. If you're feeling concerned, it's a great idea to follow, to sign up alongside them. I had a neighbor friend who, 6th grade son, started to getting on all these, getting all these apps and started chatting. And the father actually requested a friend, said he was on his soccer team, said he went to Hudson, said he was a friend, and his son accepted him. And then the dad exchanged a few things, and the son replied, and then the father then approached him and said, who's this kid? He said, oh, he's on my soccer team. Oh, really? Which one is he? Point him out to me. And, he couldn't point him out to him. And then after a few kind of these, episodes or trickery a little bit, he said, it was me. And I could be following you. And
wow.
Anyway, so the child then got off Instagram. I think it was through Instagram. And said, I don't think I need this. So it was a good experience and helpful for the kids to know that you are watching. And kind of one way. So.
I have one comment and then a question, but when my kids got Instagram, we set it all up and had the same rules. They have to be private, and I'm going to follow you. But when you start getting involved, and I think I just posted my first Instagram picture maybe like a month ago. But the kids will come and they will want to follow you. And so I thought, well, I'm not sure that's really appropriate that I'm following your friends and they're following me. But one thing I noticed is that just because of that, the fake Instagram and the fake Facebooks, if you don't follow them, you won't know that they do. They almost, I know my son is in 8th grade, but my cousin's daughter is in 9th grade, and she said almost every girl in 9th grade has a fake Instagram account. So you have to be able to not just follow your own child, but get onto their account. And so take their phone and look, and you'll be able to see, mostly if your child has a fake account. But my other question is, with all this social media, our society, including all of us parents, is becoming so narcissistic. So do you have advice for us in how to just raise our kids to not always be looking to do things that they can post and not always be living like, look at me, look at what I did, look at what I see on Facebook, people like post their kids' grades and their kids' test scores and I don't.
That's a great
really
point.
hard.
I'm actually seeing a trend in the schools. Have you heard about PBL's project-based learning? In the schools, there's more of this happening where the students are learning their content standards, but they're also doing something positive for an authentic audience. Like I know Six Integrity has their, Mrs. Colleen has a group, and they're doing activities and things that would benefit some people in countries in Africa, and raising money for them or raising awareness. They're doing a partner writing activity. So I think that we're seeing a trend here that we want them to get outside of themselves and see what they can do for the bigger cause and more globally and help people in the community. So I think the same things at home. Can you do things for your church or temple? Get them out there helping others, helping neighbors, service projects. My husband likes to have the kids go during Christmas time and help in some of the assisted living areas. We just play bingo with them for a couple hours. We just really want to get the kids just out and not so into themselves on a regular basis. So I do see that trend in education. I think that's why. Okay. Well, I'm going to continue with my portion. We are going to talk about how to raise a resilient child. Okay. And I know Mrs. Wood was talking about technology-free zones, but right now this is not one of them because I'm going to ask you to take out your phone. And I want to hear from all of you. We're going to take a poll. Okay, so please take out your phones. And I'm going to ask you to set up a test. And then I'm going to ask you a question. And everybody's answer is going to pop up in real time on the screen. Okay? And you can put in more than one answer, but it has to be one word at a time. Okay, so at this time, please set up your texting and text to the number 22333. And then the message will say Bobby Wallach 968, all one word. Type that in, press send, and then you will get a response that says you have joined the session. Okay? So you're texting to the number 22333, and then the message is Bobby Wallach 968, and then you should get the response that you've joined the session. Is everyone? No.
The cinder block walls, it's one good thing. It does deter the kids a little bit. It slows them down.
Oh, no E. It's just B-O-B-B-I. Yes. There's no E on the end of my name. It's B-O-B-B-I-W-A-L-L-A-C. Okay, raise your hand if you still need another minute to join the session. Anyone?
It's just slow. It's
Okay.
techno people that don't know.
Okay.
They need their children.
Around.
Okay. So, what we're going to do is create a word cloud. And I'll ask you the question in a minute. You're going to type in and send the word, but you can send in multiple words, but just one word at a time. If it's one word that's really too inclusive, like hardworking, you need to put a hyphen in between those two words. Otherwise, just one word, but you can have multiple answers. But the question is, think about your child. They will one day graduate from high school. It seems like they'll be in middle school forever, I know. But, you know, the long days and the short years, they will be graduating from high school. What qualities, characteristics, and attitudes would you like your child to have when they graduate from high school? So you can put in as many answers as you want, but just one word. And the larger the word becomes, that means that multiple people, or you, can write the same word over and over and over. Wow, this looks good so far.
We've received.
Oh, I thought I kept it at 100, but maybe, okay. All right, well, we have an idea of what we want our children, the characteristics and attitudes we want them to have when they graduate from high school, and that is being resilient, being happy. Kindness is the largest word there. I love that. Being confident, a good citizen, having love for others and being honest and independent. Integrity, okay, they're a person with integrity. So I actually found a slide yesterday that says personal qualities not measured by tests. This looks almost exactly like what we just created here. You can't really measure these, but this is what we want our children to have. To be self-aware, to have some humility, and critical thinkers, and collaborate with others, okay? And curious, and a sense of humor. Do you think you can teach these to your children?
Yeah, you can model them. Yeah.
Okay, by modeling them,
Talking about them.
talking about them on a regular basis. How else can you teach these to your children?
Allow them to solve their own problems.
Yes, absolutely. Allow them to solve their own problems. So at the bottom, the word hopeful is there. And there have been studies done about hope, which I think is fascinating. The Tell for Kids is an organization out of Columbus, and they studied hope. And they found that you can teach someone to be hopeful, and they found how important it is for people to be hopeful.
I invite you up front so that
Oh, sorry. Okay, absolutely. They found in this study that hope is a stronger predictor of college success, even more so than the academic measures such as their ACT, SAT scores and their grade point average. I thought this was so fascinating. The study went on to define hope, and it was a student who believed that their future will be better than the present, a student who understands that there are challenges and roadblocks that they will face. But they're okay with that. They'll struggle with it and they'll move forward. So fall down 7 times, stand up 8. That is their philosophy. That is their mindset. And they have a growth mindset. Does anyone know what a growth mindset is? Have you been hearing this term or have any idea what that might be? I have a slide to show you. Okay, so fixed mindset is on the right. A growth mindset is on the left. A growth mindset is, I can learn anything that I want to. It might just take a while. I might have some failings along the way. I might have to work harder than the next person. But my effort and my attitude will not stop me. Okay? And that creates success and grit. Okay? So a resilient person. A fixed mindset, oh, I'm not smart in math. I'm never good at math. I don't like to be challenged. I don't want to take that, class or take that on to be challenged. My abilities determine everything about me. That could create learned helplessness. Okay? So this is my favorite part about the study is that hope can be taught. And as a school counselor, I'm like, oh my gosh, I went to a conference, a national middle school conference last year, and one of the sessions was how to teach hope. And I was like, I have got to go there. I'm a middle school counselor and a parent. Oh, I have to learn this. And it was so fascinating because this is what they came up with. So a child that's hopeful has at least one caring adult in their life. Obviously, they have you, right? They have all the educators here at Hudson Middle School. And even our advisory program, we are setting that up so that all the students in our building have a connection with at least one adult in the building all 3 years, besides their counselors, of course, too, and where they can talk about their emotional well-being and strategies to take on challenges in their life that are difficult. That's why we build that into the school day, and they are with the same advisor all 3 years. Because, and this is what I'm so grateful to be a counselor in this school, to have this amazing department of school counselors and administrators that care so much about the well-being of our children. So that's number one. And then, just like Mrs. Strebe was saying, the support and encouragement of your children, and as I mentioned before, several talks through the years. Okay? This one's huge, though. Allow them to make mistakes. So I think I am a different parent because of these studies that I am learning than I would be had I not known this. I think I would have definitely been a little bit in that overprotective category, but only because I would think I was doing the right thing for my child. Oh my gosh, you forgot your assignment. You worked so hard on it. It's on the kitchen table. I'm going to take it to your school for sure. I don't want you to feel the discomfort because you worked so hard on it, right? But I am learning that that is actually doing a disservice to the child who has to learn the natural consequences and learn some strategies to survive because things aren't going perfect for them, and then they will rethink the next time, what can I do to make sure that I have everything I need the next day. This just happened to me last week. My son had his lunch on the table, and all of a sudden I'm driving to work and I get a text from him, I left my lunch, can you bring it to me, Mom? And he didn't we're in a different district and they don't have nice lunches like we have here. And he didn't like what was being served that day, so I kind of knew he wasn't going to eat. It was so hard for me that I just texted back, so sorry, honey, I'm on my way to work, can't get it to you today. And he survived, and he has not forgotten to take his lunch since. So I think it's harder on the parents than it is on the child. When I saw him after school, he was smiling, he had a good day, and I know that he learned his lesson better than had I, went back home, got the lunch, brought it to school, told Dr. Cockley, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be late today, I had to drop off my son's lunch. And I think that this is something that he is going to learn from and hopefully make him a more resilient child. But you really do, not just stand back and let them just fall and just say, "Oh, sorry." You want to be there supporting them, encouraging them, talking about their strengths, okay? And that is what they need from us, and maybe just to give them some ideas. You're not getting along with your friend? What are some ideas of how you can handle that? And let them think of some things, but you can kind of lead them along the way. And then, well, how do you think you're going to handle that? Okay, but you're there talking it through with them the next day. How did that go? Okay, so there are 2 books I'm reading right now I would strongly recommend to you. This one is called The Gift of Failure by Jessica Lahey, Lahey. And I love it because she's a middle school teacher and a middle school parent, so I can relate to everything she's saying. And it's really what we were just saying here about just taking a lovingly step back, letting your children make mistakes, and it's really going to help them be more well-rounded and resilient as they get older. And my favorite quote from this is, "Every rescue is a lesson lost." So every time you're bailing out your child, they just missed out on a huge life lesson. So that, and then Grit is from Angela Duckworth, and she is the expert in the field of grit. She defines it as a combination of passion and perseverance. This is a compilation of stories of successful people and just how grit played a part in that. But there's a whole chapter on parents, how you could teach being resilient and grit. So Angela Duckworth. Yeah.
I just have a question. So, you have been, sorry. No.
It sounds like you have in place the advisory group, which is great.
Yes.
I mean, I know my son loves his
Oh, wonderful.
advisor. But what about when they try sports and they get involved in that? Is there some counseling that goes on, or is it just?
I think their coaches are, kind of like their advisor for the sports. And sometimes coaches come and talk to us if there's something that we should know. And we tell the coaches, too, if there's any concern emotionally about a child. So I think that they would have that relationship with their coach.
Okay. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Because I just see some stuff going on, and it's, now the sports is the 7th and 8th grade.
Yes.
Boys together. Sometimes there's.
So if you have any concerns of anything that you're hearing about or seeing, I would definitely contact the coach. And you can certainly tell the counselor too, and we'll be able to, work with you and work with the student on that.
Okay. So, and how does it work? My son isn't the type of person that's going to come.
Yeah.
To a counselor's office.
Yeah. Sometimes we call them down. We don't have a choice. Well, this is what I'll tell you. If a parent comes to me and has a concern about their child, the first thing I'm going to do is say, I would love to talk to your child about that, because sometimes when I'm hearing from the parent and what the child is experiencing are very different. And I've also learned that I really can't just start getting involved without the child first having a conversation with me and knowing how much or how little I'm going to get involved. It's empowering the child. It's making sure that we as counselors are doing what the student is comfortable with. So the first thing I would say to a parent is, are you comfortable with me calling your child down, telling them that we had this conversation, and then I could talk through what your child is perceiving is happening and how much or how little you want me to get involved. Maybe not at all. Maybe just talking about strategies for the child to handle that situation.
Right, like it's strategies. So I mean, you have the class, which I think is once every 2 weeks, right?
The advisory?
The advisory class.
Once a week.
Oh, it is
every Monday afternoon.
Okay, so I know it was on Monday, but okay, I wasn't too sure it was every. So, and it's providing the strategy. So I wanted someone to say, other than your parents, which your kids rely on you as a guide, but sometimes they don't want to have anything to do with you. Right. So it's almost as if you have to have that neutral party that's going to provide some extra guidance. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, and sometimes parents call me, but they don't want me to tell their child that they called me, but they still want me to talk to the child. So we have little ways to get around that too, where I can call the child in and say, well, I just heard something, or observe something. I want to check in with you. So we have ways around that too.
Okay. So. All right. And I love the coaches. I love the teachers.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Great questions. So we want you to think about some of these scenarios that definitely middle school parents are bound to go through sooner or later. Mrs. Wood?
Yeah, I know we're kind of running short on time, but wrong answer to a lot of these questions. As a newer parent myself, I'm learning some of it is trial and error. But if you just kind of want to think what category you would typically find yourself in, and then, you know, take some of the things that we talked about today. But let's say your child forgets their math homework and texts you from school. Do you? A, leave the grocery store to frantically run home, grab their homework, and deliver it to school. B, text them back, bummer. Or C, drop it off this time, but talk to them that night about being responsible and tell them you won't be delivering it again. Okay? So these are just some typical scenarios. In the morning, do you A, set the expectation for them to set an alarm and pack their lunch on their own? Do you B, gently nudge each child awake, pack their lunches, make breakfast, and pick out their clothes for the day? Or C, yell up the stairs, time to get up, you're late, the bus is coming, okay? Your 7th grader does poorly on a science test. Do you A, email the teacher immediately requesting a conference? B, talk to your child about their study strategies and help them come up with a plan for studying for the next test? C, ground them from their phone? And then the last scenario, your 6th grader has a project due tomorrow but does not have the necessary supplies and it's 7 o'clock. Do you A, run to the store, B, let natural consequences happen, or C, have your child call their classmate neighbor to see if they have any extra supplies? So just some things to think about. We want to thank you all for coming, and we want to leave you with this thought. Don't let yourself become so concerned with raising a good kid that you forget that you already have one. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So in brief, I just want to say wow much. And I also want to just say how grateful we are that almost 50 parents are here this morning. And I know so many are watching, the video at home later. And that is really what we are so grateful for. We have students who come to school with this support system in place of families who care so deeply. And then we have staff members like this who also care. And our entire staff is kind of right there with them. So I'm just grateful for our district for understanding the social emotional connection that we must have with students and ensuring that we have counselors who can support our students and support our staff and support our families. So thank you again for coming, and thank you to PTO for providing the opportunity. Thanks.